Hello everybody, Chris here, and in this video I'm going to show you guys how to set up collisions for your tile sets inside of Godot 4.1. So right now I'm working with the platformer scene here. You can already see that these two characters can move around, jump, and so on and so forth, and they can collide with the ground. So let's start by showing roughly how you would recreate ground like that. So first off, you're going to need a Tilemap node. So if you don't already have one in your game, you can right click on your level, add a child node, and then you're going to search for the Tilemap node, which is under node 2D. So when you click on your Tilemap node, by default, it's going to be 16 by 16 tiles. We want to go over to the right, and by default, the tile set is going to be empty. So you can create a new tile set in here by clicking on the drop down, new tile set. You can define what size the tiles are if you're working with anything that's not 16 by 16. And then in order to add collision to your tiles, you're going to want to add a physics layer. So there'll be this little menu. You can expand physics layers, and then you want to click add element. So you can have different sets of physics layers if your tiles are going to interact differently inside of your game. So when something's on collision layer 1, that means that another node, if they care about physics at all, would be looking to collide with these tiles on layer 1. So for a character to actually see the tile and collide with it, it must be looking for collision layer 1. And that's what you usually use the collision mask for when you're setting up your characters. For instance, I can click on the female hero and go down to collision. So this is on the character body 2D node. And you can see that this character is on layer 2, but the mask is layer 1, which means for collision, it's looking for layer 1, which I've called my ground layer. If I'm not looking for layer 1, it's not going to collide with the ground. So if I disable the mask here and I hit play, you should see the character just fall straight through the floor. Okay, so that's basically layer and mask. Now let's go back to the tile map. We already have this basic collision layer and collision mask. So let's add some new tiles to this tile set so that we can add the collision to each tile. So I am grabbing from this art pack over here from Anacolisa, the hive.png. Part of the Hive Forest pack if you're interested in it. So I'm going to take Hive PNG, and in the bottom window, I want to be on Tile Set to create new tiles. Tile Map is for placing tiles. So let's go to Tile Set, and I'm going to drag hive.png over here, drop it in. I'm going to automatically create tiles. Since the tile size is 16 by 16 and these all match it, it will easily be able to automatically create all the tiles. So just yes. And you see that it perfectly slices each of them up. I guess technically speaking, we need to make a bit of an adjustment for these treasure chests because those are bigger, but all the other tiles are going to work nicely here. So for some basic ground hive tiles, we'll use these ones in the top left. So if I zoom in really closely, we can see that with this particular tile set, we want the characters to be standing on these tiles. And then this bit right above is actually not where the character is going to stand on. These are not collidable tiles. But this 3x5 block is. So how do you take the tiles and give them collision? We want to go to paint over here, and then we need to choose a paint property. So we want to click on the drop down and look for physics layer 0, or whichever set of collision and mask you want to add to a tile. And you can add multiple if you need to. But let's do physics layer 0. So select that. The default shape is going to be a box that just fills in the entire 16 by 16. So that's going to work really easy for these squares. I can just left click on each one and it's going to copy whatever the shape is from this editor on the left over to the square. So if I just click on each of these 15 squares, then now those are going to have the collision setup that we have in this physics layers over here, where it's on ground 1 and then the mask is layer 1 as well. Don't think the tiles actually need the mask for anything, but theoretically it could be used for something. So to show that you can actually set up other shapes than just a 16 by 16 square, let's go down to some other tile that has some transparency like these down here. And let's just assume that we wanted these to be a collision tile. So I can left click on it and that will add the physics shape in, but you can see that it doesn't make a lot of sense for the transparent space to have like an invisible wall collision. So you can click on the points inside of the collision shape and actually drag them around to adjust where the collision would actually happen. So by moving it there, now some of this top right transparent space is no longer going to cause collision with any of our characters. Now you can also add extra points by going along the edges and left click, and then this will add in another point where you can adjust and move it. So you can make your polygon a lot more complicated if you need it to be. And then just adjust the points to where you need it. You can use the remove points tool if you need to get rid of any of these. And then once you're satisfied with the shape, just left click on the square again, and that will assign the physics shape over there. So also if we click on this little menu, you can see that you can rotate the shape. So if you wanted to copy this over here, but basically for flipping it around, then you can just hit R a few times and then left click over here. And now you have the same physics shape, but flipped over to the left. So that can save you a bit of time when you are setting those up. So just rotate, and you can use the other tools. They also have flip, horizontal, and vertical, and keyboard hotkeys to go along with that. All right, so let's place some of these tiles and then show that the physics will actually work. So if I go to Tilemap, let's see, hive.png, and I'll just manually assign these tiles to the screen somewhere. So I'll just actually take this huge chunk and just assign it up here as one thing. So just all of the tiles, and I'll just put it right there. And this should cause physics collisions for both the character here, the knight hero, and the female knight hero over there. So let's go ahead and hit play, and our character should go over to the wall. Now this particular character has the AI to go ahead and jump over walls like that if he can. So that was a different video a week or two ago if you want to go check that out. And of course the player character here can jump and interact in the same ways. So let's say there's one last thing that hypothetically we wanted like our player character to be able to walk through a wall, but we wanted NPCs to actually collide with the wall and interact with it as a physics object. So we could create another physics layer, and then the collision layer, let's just say it's 8 right here. I haven't used that for anything else. Mask 1. And then I'm going to remove all of these tiles from physics layer 0. So let's hit left click over here, and I'm going to C to clear the shape, and then I'm going to left click on all of these. Okay, so all those are gone. Now let's go to physics layer 1, and let's assign that to these tiles like so. So because these are on collision layer 8, only characters looking for collisions on layer 8 are actually going to interact with that and be blocked by those tiles. So if I click on the hero player, and then we put the mask on 8 as well as 1, and hit play, then now our hero is going to be able to collide with the ground here, but also this wall over here on the right. Of course, you can see the NPC over here only looks for layer 1, so it will actually just walk right through this wall area. So something to keep in mind just when you're setting up your physics layers for your tile sets. And that is pretty much the gist of how you use physics collisions in your tile maps and tile sets inside of Godot 4.1. So I hope that this tutorial has helped you guys out. I've been Chris, thanks for watching to the end, and I will see all of you in my future video content.